Hello, everybody. It's Stephanie Steffer with CVI Connect, doing our Saturdays with CVI Connect Facebook Live event for you here today. In a little bit, we'll get started with just some questions we've noticed that a lot of people have been having and thought that by posting it here, maybe we could get some more information out to you guys and support you in whatever way that you need. So when you jump on, you're joining us, feel free to comment and let me know you're here, maybe where you're from. I always like to know who's joining me for the day. And even if you're checking in later and you aren't available right now, but you're coming in later and you want us to know that you saw it, or if you have any questions or feedback for us, we're always looking for stuff like that. So please feel free to comment below and let us know. I just want to do a couple reminders too. Our last event, Steve was live with you guys, and he shared that we will be out and about in the next month or so doing some conferences that are coming up for the professional development opportunities, which is awesome. I'm so glad that our CVI faces are getting out there for the world so we can get everyone to start noticing CVI a little bit more for any areas that might not be. And supporting them. But one of them that we'll be going to is in April 24th through the 26th. We'll be in Pennsylvania at the Pennsylvania-Delaware AER. So we'll have a couple people there. So check them out at the booth, say hi, let them know how you're interacting already with CVI Connect or any questions that you might have. Get a chance to see the different versions that we've been working on. Hopefully they'll be launched by then, but if not, you'll still be able to get a check and see where we're at with those. As we continue to build those things for you guys. We'll also be from April 25th to the 26th, I will be at the Michigan AER conference in Livonia. So if any of you guys will be there, please feel free to stop by and say hi. I'd love to see all of you. And then after that, immediately we'll be going from there, April 27th to Boston for the Perkins Early Connections Conference. So another great opportunity for us to share what we have and answer any more questions that you guys might have. If you're not going, there's always many other ways to connect with us. Like right now, if you're joining us, feel free to comment and we can make sure that we get those needs taken care of for you. It's our big goal is to make sure we're connecting with each of you and meeting your needs along the way. We all know that when you're in this world, regardless if you're at the beginning of your journey or at the end, it can be pretty difficult and feel like you're fighting it alone. And so hopefully if you allow us to join you on your journey, we can support you in some of those needs and either find another resource to help you, or maybe we could be that resource for you and for your team to provide the best educational opportunities for your child and prepare them to be as independent as possible and the best functioning adult that we can make them. So like I said, some of the questions I wanted to address today were just some of those getting started type questions, or maybe things that you've run into bumps along the road. Your team's kind of asked you guys for some resources and you're not really sure where to go. So hopefully I can help you with that. One of the questions that's come up is that they wanted to know if the app is available on other tablets, other resources, or just the iPad. And it is only available on the iPad at this time. I don't know what the future has to hold for that, because we've learned a lot about making it available on the iTunes store, but that's not to say that as we continue to grow that won't happen. I just don't know right now. That's not something that we've planned for. So we'll keep you posted as soon as we know more about that. But right now, just the iTunes store. You download the iPad app from iTunes store, like the app store, just like you normally would. And then you go to our website to register, and that's where you get your login information. It'll be emailed to you, and that's where you make your payments and get all set up. So that's how that process works. Another question we've had was, does the app automatically adjust based on the child's performance? In the beginning, that's what we were kind of hoping for, but we found that you still need a lot of the human, the adult, whoever's working with the individual with CVI, their interpretation. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. So for example, if I'm working with a child with CVI, and they're maybe in phase 1, and I'm looking at this activity. So I kind of did a screenshot of it just so that I would make sure I had the right one up. So here we go. We've got this here, and I've pulled up on the bottom here how you can use the the camera to do the look detection. So I've turned it on look detection for me. And so what I'll do then is I'll use this data that's being collected as how often the child is looking at the screen or doing their look away to collect and see how well red is doing for them. So for example, if I had a child, this actually happened, I had a student, it happens a lot. I had a student who their family had no idea what CVI was. We get that diagnosis. And so we're trying to figure out what that preferred color was. They had no idea. They made some guesses, but why not use some data to know for sure what the child needs? So what we did was, we ran a series of the activities that look like this. We've got them in blue, purple, red, all those colors out there. So then what we did was we used the data to say, which one were they looking at more, or which look away, and that look away time and when they came back was shorter. So for example, on the blue, we noticed that he was, glancing at the blue, but most of the time was spent at that looking away. And then he would come back, but it was really just glances in that direction, which was still good. He was making an attempt, but it was not his preferred color. We found that red, like many of our kids, but with the data, it was not just a guess anymore. Now we knew for sure that he was really looking at the red, and then every once in a while he would need a break, but then he'd come back right to it, and he was really engaged and loved it. And so we were like, okay, we want to make sure we're using red then to grab that visual attention for him, especially because he was still in that phase 1. So that would be how the facilitator, whoever's helping that student when they're engaging in the activity. Remember, this isn't something that you just park in front of them and walk away. It's an interactive thing. You might be quiet, but you're still supporting the child as you're facilitating them with the app, right? Because we want to make sure it's a purposeful and educational opportunity for them. And the same thing if you've got someone who is maybe in phase 2 and you're starting to work on those salient features. So in this activity, for example, we've got our cat and our salient features are highlighted. And so maybe in this, we're using red, it's their preferred color. So we're using that to point out those salient features, but maybe then we find out that this is going really well. We want to move on and see if we can scaffold it to the next level and see if the child can still maintain. So now we move up to an activity like this, and now the child is only identifying this cat maybe, and maybe it's because the cat is similar in color as the other one. But whatever it may be, they're not generalizing the salient features of cat all across the board. So now we need to know that it's time for us to go back to an activity like this until they're really ready. And then we can, really focus in on those salient features more. Maybe we need to encourage more pictures of different cats and highlight those salient features with them so that they're generalizing that a little bit more. Side note, really cool thing that's coming in our next feature will be that you can actually draw it on yourself. So the pictures of the cats would be isolated, and then you would actually highlight that with your child, whether it's you doing it or, like I said, the facilitator doing it, or the child with CVI if they have enough hand-eye coordination to do that. You could have them actually drawing, which is a really cool feature I'm excited for in the next release. So I know we keep teasing you with little things that are coming, but I'm excited, and I just have to tell you that has been a really fun thing to play around with. Again, if your child maybe is doing well with this arrangement of 4, or maybe you want to just do 2 of them so you cover up, maybe you cover up 2 of the pictures and you just have them do that one, or will you email us and ask us to adjust the activity? We're willing to do that. That would be a simple fix for you. So you only had a field of 2 on there. Whatever it is that you might need to meet those needs. And you're basing it on the data based on your observations with them, or the data that the iPad is collecting. So again, remember, we can collect where you're touching it on the screen. And so if we indicate that the cats are accurate touches and the dog is an inaccurate touch, then after running that, you go on and you're looking at the data that's being shown, and you can tell that they've gotten the 3 accurate touches on there, so you're getting 100% accuracy. Or when you're sitting there, you watched them touch it, and so they had that. But then you also have the child who just starts smacking everywhere on there, and so you maybe have to point to them and say, give me your yes, no. Is this one a cat? Is this one a cat? And then so you're using other ways to collect that data depending on your child's abilities and figuring out how to progress from there. So then like I said, the iPad isn't going to do that on its own, but we do have built-in activities that continue to progress. Now we have it into a realistic background. And for some kids, this would totally be like, no, this is too much for me. Now I have other things going on in there, and I can't see those salient features now that you've included distance in there as well as complexity getting increased. And so that might be where you're like, okay, now we're done. So the iPad isn't going to tell you when the child, based on the data. That's up to you to interpret that data. And if you need help doing that, let us know, and we can certainly help you interpret that data, especially in the beginning, as you're trying to figure things out. So I hope that answered any. Did anyone have any additional questions about progressing through different activities using the app? Hi, Susan. I'm glad you're here with us. Hi, Will. It's good to see you too. So feel free, as I'm going over things, if you have questions, just jump in. I'll see those pop up and answer those periodically as well. I don't want to move on too fast, and if anyone needs me to go back, I can as well. But I also don't want to just leave you guys waiting, watching me sit here. So we're going to continue on. The next question that I had was, where can I get a CVI range for my child? And so that is a great question. There are a lot of great places that you can get one. So if you're not comfortable on your own, there are a couple different things you can do. So I'm going to go back to the at home in just a second, but you can go to like Perkins website and see who may be endorsed in your area now that they have that awesome program. And see maybe how far the next closest person is. More and more people are constantly being added to that list, which is awesome. And more people are being aware that they can even take those tests. So there are people out there who are knowledgeable about CVI who are not yet endorsed, but we're definitely encourage them when you see them to go get that endorsement so that we can build that awareness and see who else is out there to help our students. But there's that to start. Your local school might be able to help you as well. You can contact them depending on how old your student is. Every state's laws are different. Here in Michigan, we're lucky because we have services starting at birth to 3. So even that early on team can support you and get someone from the local education agency to support you with that. And if they're not educated in CVI, they might be able to find somebody nearby who does know more about it. So it'd be a good place to just at least check into and also know if they know anything about it or if you need to start supporting them to get those resources. Another opportunity would be our virtual range assessment, and you can do that through our website, and I'm going to go into more about that in just a second. Let me jump back to the at home. I know several people have asked me, okay, I'll do one at home, but how do I do it? I don't really know much about it. So I want to give you some resources to get started with that. There are a couple books that you can purchase that are going to be great resources. So this is Dr. Roman's first book. This is what I like to call my CVI Bible. It's gotten me started and helped me really understand a lot, but there's a lot more resources in this. This is going to dive in super deep into the CVI Connect or the CVI world and what you're going to need to do to approach that assessment, and then working on interventions as well. She does have a second edition of that she's recently released, and that cover looks a little bit like this, and you're going to see on the bottom it says second edition. It's the same title, just that it's a second edition, so it's got some updates to the previous one. So I actually don't have this one yet. I really need to get it, but I've heard a lot of good things about it, so you might even just be able to start right with that one. Another one that's great for parents, I've used to purchase a whole bunch of these and loan them out to my families, is this one here. It's called Little Bear Sees. It was written by parents for parents, and it'll talk about the different characteristics and things like that as well. It's not going to go into as much depth about how to score, but it is going to talk a lot about those characteristics for you, which is a great resource, especially if you're just getting started and you don't know what a lot of that jargon means. This one might be a good one to start with. It really depends on what you're comfortable with. Some people are already like, I just want to dive right in and know it all. Just give me the information. And others get really intimidated by all that lingo and the different things that we talk about in education. And I don't want you to be so overwhelmed that you shut down and feel like there's no one there to help you, because that's not the case. There are people that want to help. And so let's make sure that we're preparing you and not overwhelming you, I guess is what I want to do. Couple other books that are great. I like the Vision in the Brain by Gordon Dutton. His is called cerebral visual impairment. And so I do have personal opinions on some of the information he gives. It doesn't totally align with Dr. Roman's, but I do feel like he's got some good research in there that is great to hear. And so you kind of have to, I mean, with anything, you got to take it all with a grain of salt and find what works best for you and for your child, right? The latest and greatest from Dr. Roman is the new Advanced Principles book. And this is going to talk a lot about interventions, another fabulous read, and great resources for our families. So that isn't as much about the range. Like I said, it's more about the interventions, but again, a great resource for you guys. Then the other thing that I mentioned was, so what you would do is get one of those books and it'll kind of walk you through that ability to do the CVI range and get that score. Going back to knowing, you know, where do you move forward, that'll also tell you where to start with our app. So if you're getting the iPad app and you don't really have a CVI range yet, you've got activity, you don't really know where to start with them. Some kids are identified and they're already at phase 2. You could start at phase 1, but if you're seeing the child look away from it, you might interpret that as they're not visually attending, when it really could just be that that's not exciting enough, that they're just like, yeah, I can see it, but I don't really want to know what you want me to do with it. So it's really interpreting, making sure you're understanding what their body language is telling you, if they don't have language to tell you themselves about what they're seeing. So that's why it's really important to start with that CVI range, and that's why we request that that's done before you get started, so that we can really provide that input for you when you're getting started with the activities. I mentioned the virtual range. That brings me into my next question. Actually, a lot of people have been asking, how does this work? How do I even get started? Do I have to have a referral? The good news is you don't have to have a referral of any kind. You refer yourself or your child. So let me show you how you would actually do this. I'm going to go on to our website here. So when you're on our website, cviconnect.co, at the very top, it says order a virtual range score. So I'll zoom into the top there. It says order a virtual range score. So you're going to click that link, and then it'll take you to this page. And on the left-hand side, you can see the virtual range assessment, all the things that it includes. It says it conducted by Dr. Christine Roman Lancy. You're going to take about an hour to 2 hours. You'll get a CVI range score generated as a result. You do not have to have a subscription already to be able to sign up for this. So while we encourage you to have that, you do not have to have that subscription already. And there are no geographic limitations. So I know right now we get a lot of questions about maybe I'm in Canada or wherever you may be if you're not in the United States and you want to have access to the app. The good news is you don't have to be in the United States even to access the range score. So Dr. Roman has been able to work through some different time zones and things like that and allow that to work for you. Just click that order now button. Dr. Roman has been working on making sure she is able to schedule within about 1 month of registration, depending on her schedule. I do have a note here. Sometimes she has to travel. Actually, she travels a lot, let's be honest. For various things, she's trying to get the word out and help everybody that she can. So there are times where she's just not available at the time. She might be in Canada or going wherever she might be for the moment. So she's not able to log in at all times, but she's been pretty good about scheduling those as fast as she can for you, because she knows how desperate some of her families are to get that information to their educational team. That will be, like I said before, it uses FaceTime to sign up and do that. She does the parent interview, and then we'll coach you through actually like where to present things, how to put things on the screen, or like where to put them in front of your child. And that way she can make the observations she needs to in order to give your child an accurate CVI range assessment. And she has also said that you can do this with anyone from whatever the typical age room, that you can do that. So feel free to sign up and use that resource if you don't have somebody locally that can help you, or maybe you do have someone, but you're not really sure you trust their instincts, that what they're telling you doesn't really match with what you're seeing. When my experience, the parents, the caregivers that are with that child have been the best resource, and you guys are really the experts. You guys see them day in and day out. You know how your child responds. And if what the professional is telling you doesn't match up, it's okay to question it. I feel like there are so many people that have had some training and maybe not enough. And so you don't know. So trust your gut, and worst case scenario, you end up getting the same results and you find out that they do know what they're talking about. But at least you know in the end, and you're not constantly questioning things. I feel like it's important to know for sure where that is in order. Like we said, we got to know where we are to know where we're going, right? So start with that CVI range score in order to figure out what activities and what interventions you're going to provide in order to improve your child's vision. The next question that I have up on my lineup here is if my child's favorite color is red, do I make everything red? No. If you're in phase 1, you might be presenting something like I showed you in the beginning, where the whole screen is red, right? So that's kind of where it can get confusing and mixed messages, because in phase 1, we're looking for that visual attention on an item. So you're just can they connect their eyes to whatever it is that I'm presenting, that visual item that I want them to look at. And so yes, in that instance, it is red. But remember when I gave you that cat example, let me lock that back in here. I didn't want to necessarily make my whole cat red. Now I could if I just wanted them to look in the direction of a picture of a cat because it wasn't moving or anything like that, and I just wanted them to move. But that's not really when I'm ready to start talking about salient features yet, right? So you will see that we do have an activity that has just like a red cat, but that's not when I'm looking for them to identify it. So when your child is starting to actually like make those different trying to discriminate between the two images, you have to teach those salient features, right? If I have everything always red, because red is their preferred, you're going to have them choosing just whatever they want because they're not really discriminating between those things yet. And in real life, are cats like a solid red color? No, not at all. And so we want to use realistic images because that's what they're going to run into later. So we want to make sure that we're providing them with whatever they're going to see later in life, and making sure that they're generalizing that across the board. So no, you don't want to just take everything and make it that color. We want to make sure that we're not overwhelming that either. We have their brain will need to look away. There's a reason why we see that characteristic. And so you need to make sure that their whole life just doesn't become this red bubble that they're in. So kind of use your red wisely. The next thing that I have on here is, can vision continue to improve at above age 3? Absolutely. I had some students that weren't even diagnosed, sadly, until they were above age 3. And they absolutely did make progress. And it was incredible to be a part of that journey and watch them truly see things and purposefully look at things, reach out for things once those accommodations were given, and slowly learning more about their vision and purposeful reactions to things that they hadn't before. Yes, absolutely. They can continue to improve. So don't stop. Continue going. You can still connect those synapses in the brain, and it'd be important to make sure that we're providing those opportunities for those kids. The next question we had was, where do I start with my activities? So the best thing that Julie and I always suggest to our families with CVI Connect is that you're going to start with whatever is in your routine. You want your interventions and things to be tied to your typical routine and things you want them using their vision for in that routine. So if it's important for you that your child can find his toothbrush versus his brother's toothbrush, then we need to start teaching the salient features of a toothbrush and, more importantly, his toothbrush. Right. And so, and then if you're changing it like you're supposed to based on your dentist recommendation, you need to make sure that when you change it, that you're teaching the salient features of whatever that new toothbrush is, or that you buy the same one again, so that you can continue to do that. If you're working on things at school and you want your child to be using their vision to complete those tasks at school, then that's what you should start with, based on, again, your child's phase level. If your child is a phase 1, getting started might just be drawing attention to their favorite color and items of that color in their house. So if it's red, then you want them looking at Elmo, and you want them, finding those red things in their environment, but providing those red things continuously throughout their day. If we're not providing them, then they're not using their vision and therefore not making as much progress. So it's important to continuously provide those things. And that's where I would say that I would prefer to get started. So when you're looking at our activities, so I always say it's not a standalone item, because if you're especially for our phase 1 kids, 2-dimensional items, those flat items are really difficult. And so you need to make sure you're also incorporating, even though we have the light, we have the movement on the iPad, you can't make it pop out at you. That technology doesn't exist on the iPad yet. So you need to make sure you have the real item with it in order for them to make those connections. Hopefully that makes sense. And the same thing when you're choosing the activity from the app. So when you're going through and you see all these phase 1 activities or all these phase 2 activities, and you're like, where do I get started with that? One, you can still contact Julie and I. We're still happy to answer that question more individually based on your child and get to know you and your family to help you with that navigation. But if it helps at all to make that decision on your own too, what Julie and I are looking for is what is going on currently in your child's life. And what would be most important for them to start. If you guys have a cat at home and you would love for your child to be able to know that that's your cat, then that would be the greatest way to start. And if you need us to upload a picture of your child's cat so that you can have an activity with a picture of your cat on it, we could certainly do that, and that would not be a problem. Our goal is to make sure that your kids are improving their vision, and in whatever way we can do that, anything we can do to support that along your journey, we would love to be a part of it. So that's where I would suggest you get started. As always, message us within the app. Remember that messaging feature on the app. Let me pull up to that first main page here. Right above the yellow bar where the activities is, it says messages. So you just click on that, and here's the messaging going back and forth. Just click the plus up here, and then you can start your next conversation with us and let us know what's going on, okay? And that's a great way. It gets messaged directly. We get emails or text messages to our phone that says someone sent you a message, and so Julie and I can log in as soon as we get a chance to answer those for you. And that goes into my next thing. I have seen some questions about how do I best contact CVI Connect and how do I get a hold of you guys? So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about that before we wrap things up here. So again, if I go back to our page, I'm going to go back to the first page. When you go in, cviconnect.co, I'm going to zoom in again. There are a couple spots up here. There's a blog that you can see of ours. There's the support community, and then there's this contact page. So if you click contact, all of those are great resources, but right now I want to focus on this contact one. So one of the ways that, remember there's many ways, but one of the ways you can contact us, let me see if I can get that glare to go away. It might be because of the sun from the window behind me. Okay, there we go. So there you're going to enter in your name, or whoever the guardian is of the child that's contacting us, the adult. The name of the individual is CVI, your email, and then your message. What is it that you want us to answer, okay? And then at the bottom, you're just gonna make sure you're not a robot, and then hit submit, right? And so that, again, gets emailed out to our team, and then whoever is available to answer your question first will jump on and answer that. And we've been trying to answer those as soon as possible because we know how important it is that you guys stay connected in order to continue improving your child's vision and continue moving forward. So we've been trying to do that relatively quickly for you. You can also, since you guys have already found our Facebook page, since you've joined me here today, you can also message us within the Facebook Messenger, and we respond to those pretty quickly too. So those are three ways. One, if you're already a subscriber, you can message us directly within the app. That comes to Julie and I. And then the other two options are our website, where you can click that contact form, and then lastly through the Facebook Messenger. I feel like everybody's kind of mentioned that those three have been most successful for them to get a hold of us. So I'm going to say let's start with those three, and whatever works best for you. We really do just want to help and get you guys going. So I'm going to hang on for just a couple more minutes to see if anyone else has any questions. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Again, if you're joining me later, thank you as well. And if you still have questions, feel free to comment them here, or like I said, comment or connect with us in a different way so that we can answer those questions for you. Anyone else have any questions for me? It's been a quiet chat box today. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast and you guys understood what I meant. Since you don't have questions, I'm hoping that everything was clear. All right. If I don't see any more questions here soon, I'm going to log off. All right, guys, have a great Saturday, and we will see you again next Saturday with our next CVI Connect with our Saturdays with Facebook. Thank you. Bye.